Today's tattoo is like a continuation of a kind of like a fantasy sleeve that we started a few months back. It's another dragon on top of kind of like an already dragon scene that we've done for the upper arm. So just a sleeve full of fantasy dragons is what she wanted. So we're just continuing that for the second time. And I'm not sure how far we'll get today because things like this with a lot of texture and stuff with dragons and stuff takes a while. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with it. And tattooing things like dragons and other like fantasy creatures can be more time consuming than most, but it really depends on the composition, meaning that if you choose to zoom in and do a closer portrait style of a dragon, you need to compensate for that by doing more textures and details, and that's where the scales can really hold you up, and it pays off in the end, versus sometimes when you're kind of more doing an entire environment and like a landscape view with the dragon in it, then you can pull back and it's just general shapes and shades, and that kind of allows you to do more dragon with less effort and time. So essentially with this sleeve, we're doing one of each. The top half of the sleeve, the first dragon, was really just zoomed in, more of just like the neck and the head. So I did a lot more detail and scale and texture in the neck and face, and this one's kind of just more pulled back where you can see a majority of the entire body of the dragon, so it'll be more just general shapes and shades to kind of imply that this is the dragon from far away. You wouldn't really notice all those types of details if you were looking at one from that distance. Well, I think what makes a sleeve work, or at least specifically with the way I do it, is just because of from the high contrast, a lot of dark values and then negative space. So she requested a lot of environment stuff to go around it. So the top dragon has a castle to it with like a cloudy sky with a moon and some lightning, and then on the lower half she wanted the dragon to kind of have more of like a forest scene, a bunch of woods and trees and stuff. So really playing on like fog effects and the negative space of the lightning and the moon, I feel like really kind of just breaks up the tattoo, so it doesn't really matter how much detail you do or do not have. Just having those overall positive and negative relationships and those values allow you to see the tattoo really well from afar, but it really kind of gives it an extra edge when you see it close up.
So today's tattoo involved a theme of life and death. There was a couple roses with a skull, but the client really was talking about how it represented some loved ones that he didn't quite want to give up, you know? It was a pretty deep story. On the surface, it was just a skull and some roses, which is always, you know, very tattooable, traditional look, but to him it meant something completely cool and different, and I really dug it. For the design itself, I just did a quick little mock-up of some roses with a skull, and we decided to make one a little drippy, so it was like a 5-minute fix, you know, which happens. Like sometimes you have a design and the customer comes in and changes it up a little bit. That's why we always book out a little further. You know, if the tattoo's going to take 2 hours, we book 2.5. You have that little design wiggle room. But yeah, it was a pretty simple design. It was just a couple roses and a skull. I love doing like high contrast black and gray on darker skin. I feel like it makes it bolder. You know, obviously you want to put more blacks into darker skin. You want to really push that contrast so it stands out better against their skin tone. That's the only thing I would add to it.